Okay, Scott Redler, there's a whole lot going on in this market we need to talk about. We need to talk about Bitcoin. We need to talk about Tesla. We need to talk about earnings, PCE, NFP, ECB, the whole alphabet soup. So, Scott, how are you doing today?
How am I doing today? I was doing better probably like 950. Uh, and then it's so funny how it changes. Like I was, if you go show the closed positions too, I had a lot of positions on. I positioned into a lot of different, stocks for earnings for next week on Wednesday in that downdraft. And then yesterday I started to hedge a little bit into the rally and I added more SPY short. And for the first hour, I was more worried that, I was going to lose more and all I wanted to be is long. And then all of a sudden, market rolled over. I was able to cover my hedges and now I'm like, all right, guys, stop going down. But PS, it's just, every decision matters in this market. Every day there's like this fine line between good decisions and making a little and making a lot, or losing a little or losing a lot. I know a lot of guys were like, there's some people change their lives with this Tesla play, and some people, it's just a good trade. Good trades happen. It all depends on how much you put into things and what you want to get out of them. And every week you look back, you're like, wait, I could have done this a little bit better. But looking back is key, and just being honest with yourself on, what you could do better, will help you down the road. And that's what it is. It's about building your process and just moving forward and learning, and I've been doing this since 1998, and every day I still learn a little bit, and I still have a lot more to learn. So that's that. I'm a little tired today, but you're shorting Tesla. Good luck to you. Anyway, so here we are. Here we are on a Friday, October 25th. Next week's a huge week for earnings, and then all of a sudden we're getting close to election time.
Okay, Scott, do you think traders are in a good mood this earnings season? Because the banks did really well off earnings. Netflix did really well. Tesla's the latest one. A lot of people got caught off guard there. It's up huge the last 2 days. So do you think people are actually, even with the election, do you think people are optimistic about earnings season?
Um, I think things are trading well. Like if you've taken option plays for different earnings, you've gotten paid. I think most traders, at least in my community, on the Alpha team or Regular All Access, like, most people love to be long Tesla. All they want is Tesla to act well so we could approach it and make money, and it could be a great active sequence. So I know for me, I had a lot of calls going into Tesla's, number. I should have had more. And then once the print happened, you could have played it after hours if you were prepared. I got to give it to you. You put out a great cheat sheet. As soon as you saw what the margins were, there was an awesome trade there. And then you could have came in the day after earnings. And we also always advocate that pro earnings gap strategy where you could have been long versus the 30-minute low and made money all the way through today. So there was a lot to like. Even Netflix, if you took a Netflix calls or a call spread or bought it versus that pro earnings pivot, you made money. And I think there's a lot to like. The traders that are in a bad mood probably didn't pull the trigger and have a little bit of FOMO and don't know what to do now.
Okay, in terms of the overall environment, it seems like everybody's been calling for more volatility, specific because the election news flow. Like, why do you think things actually seem a little smooth?
They're smooth, but they're not. At least like if here, let's look at the chart of the SPYs for a second. So let me just show you something. So we had this this 580.50 area, right? And we broke it. So when you break it, you reduce a little risk. Maybe you put on some more hedges. I talked about buying SPY puts up here. I was long the 78s. So it felt like we were going to break, and then you broke. So if you got out of things up here, you felt good about yourself. And then yesterday, you made a higher low. There was a way to buy a few things, and then today they gave you some follow through, and so at least it wasn't really predatory. Like I hate predatory action. I hate when things close strong and then all of a sudden blanket sell the next day and they don't give you a way out, or things close weak and then they squeeze you to death. Like at least here, you had time to kind of get out of things early this week, and then you had time to buy things back, and then so things are trading pretty well. Then it's never easy. They're never giving money away on trees. But if you bought on the dip, you could have been selling today. If you bought some of the tech names, there was you didn't get trapped. I wish I could say more. But Wednesday for me was a tough day, even with puts on, selling calls. I just had too many positions. And now I'm like, there are some people out there that think everyone's too bullish going to the election and they're going to sell the election. But then some think that, we're holding up here. If they haven't sold things now, that we're going to have one more massive squeeze. So there's like a lot going on. So it's good. I hate big binary events because there's so much mishmash that you're trying to um, just decide what and how to do. And then everyone thinks that everyone else is making all this money on whatever the move is, and that's not true. Um, but next week will be an interesting. At least we get all the big earnings out of the way next week before we have to worry about whether the election will actually take place, whether that night we'll have a president, who the president will be, and how it will go moving forward. So again, if you just go week by week, there's been a lot to do, and it'd be nice if some things could really be exciting. Like I know everyone's been waiting for like this Bitcoin breakout, and today was a kind of screwy day in Bitcoin and some of those Bitcoin names. Um, and they had to screw with you on Wednesday. Like everything looked great on Tuesday going into Wednesday, and they had to break it down before today, making the Mag 7 look really good, which it did, and then all of a sudden we had the rollover. So every day is just a crazy day in the life of the markets. It's just how crazy do you make it, and so that's why you have to keep yourself so sound minded, because you could definitely break a few screens. I didn't break any screens. I never break screens, but there are some people that break screens. Um, Wednesday you could have broken a screen, and then today, they had to like goose the spies in the first hour and make you think like if you're short, you're wrong, and then they roll it over, and then all of a sudden, just as anxious as you are being short, now you're like, oh, maybe we just made a lower high and we're cooked here. Now you have this loose and wide candle, lower high, and it's tough. It's tough to tell. So I think maybe a little less is more. Be specific, and don't try and anticipate what these big moves might be to make money in them. Just when they're happening, just try and join in a way that makes you feel comfortable.
Okay. All right. So Tesla, this is a little bit I feel like Scott's being a little bit of a hypocrite here because he said he doesn't like these big binary events, but then he just had a big hit on Tesla with calls into the earnings report. So you have to like binary reports like that. But so you said Tesla could hit 270-ish before the election, and it happened in like 3 days instead of 3 weeks. So do you think there's like a ceiling on Tesla for now, short term?
The best part about the market is you never know how the speed of it, but if you're in the trade in the right direction, just let it go. Like put your stop and take your hands off the keys and let it work out. I had 240 calls into earnings. My average cost was 405, and I sold them between 15 and 20, which was great. They're a little higher. Who cares? I turned some into a call spread. So let's go to the chart. Let me just show you Tesla real quickly, because Mike and I we talk and we put a lot of information, some evergreen strategies out there. So into the binary event, I'm like, this setup's great. Everyone hates it. They think the EV market's horrible. Their margins are going to be compressed. So once they came out, their margins were good. Everything was good. We were buying it after hours in here just for a trade. I had the calls on too. So, when you have a gap up, which we did, you then could be long versus here. So Mike sent out, I think, a power plays email that, it was a little late, like 250-ish, but I had to make sure and say, hey, if you didn't take Tesla into the binary event and didn't take options with the alpha team, you could buy versus 242. And that was like 250. So that was us telling them what to do. And as of right now, they're up about 16 points. Not so bad. And we don't tell them how many shares to do or what to do. So that was that. And then today, if you came in long, it opened down a little bit. I had to yell at guys on the alpha team because like, oh, Tesla's down $5. I'm like, guys, it's down $5. It was up X amount yesterday, the biggest day in a decade. And then it went from red, pushed above the prior high to go green, and then went right into the area that we were saying could happen by the election instead of happening in 2 days. So that's 3, 4, 5 different ways to play this stock if you trade it. And if you have a sound methodology, which we do, you could have made a lot of money, and many people did. And now let's take a little step back. So why did I come up with that area? Because this was a prior area of resistance right here. But now that we went there, you got to change the story. You got to change the thought. So look at the size of this candle. Now on the holy cow, on the weekly, that's a big friggin' candle. Okay, so now the question is, how do we digest um, moving into the election? So the election is what? Today's October 25th. The election is in 2 weeks. It would be nice if we hung out here, and then I would think now the next spot would probably be 299 to 312. So if you think that after the earnings move, which was a binary event that worked very well, and usually they don't always work awesome, the next will be the election. And considering we all know what side of the fence he's on, he's been advocating it like every single day, every hour of the day. So if that's what happens, then I think you're going to get 299 to 312. So now let's think of the next strategy. We had the earnings strategy that worked out really well, and now it'd be nice if it could just settle down a little bit. And then the next strategy will be is if Trump wins, you would think 299 to 312. So how do you approach that, considering, again, election night's going to be nuts? And then do they concede? Do we have a president the next day, or do we wait for mail-ins? So there's going to be a lot going on. So I would love it now this was the resistance area, went through 264, it saw 271 almost. Let it hang here a little bit, and then I do think, if Trump wins, this is going to be your next spot. So we'll figure out a way to approach that. And then if you think about it up here, Tesla itself, this was the high in 2021. Right now, it's not even where it was in 2023 or in 2022. So everyone's like, oh my God, the sickest move ever in Tesla. It's so overbought. Okay, for this week it is, but overall, in perspective on the weekly, it's not at all. Like, you have this whole void right here where it can get to. So I'm going to be trading this thing every day. If you want to trade it with me on the Alpha team or with Red All Access, like, let's do it. Come in. I welcome you.
Okay, Scott. So it feels like the election is the ultimate binary event. Do you see yourself like reducing exposure into it? Like, do you want to be on the flattish side into the election?
Mike, next week's earnings week. So again, I'm not really even thinking about the election yet. I'm thinking about Google earnings. I'm thinking about Amazon earnings. I'm thinking about Meta earnings. I'm thinking about Lilly's earnings. I'm thanking the Lord. I don't really thank the Lord, but thank the Lord that election is the week after. So a lot of these things can have a move next week, and they don't have to worry about whether or not who's going to be the next president, or who's going to control the Senate or the House, or who, So I'm thinking about next week. How about next Friday? We'll talk more about the election, and we'll see where things are at by then.
Come on, Scott. Tell us who we should vote for. We need to talk about this now. No, okay.
All
right. So why don't we talk about some of the names that are coming up next week and what you're interested in? So, for example, Google. I feel like you haven't really been focusing on Google in a while. So, why is that on the radar now?
Because no one's been focusing on it, and everyone's worried about antitrust and this and that, and it's really tight. And so I feel like it's a low risk way to play something. So next week I bought the 170 calls into weakness. So you have like an inverted head and shoulders pattern here. So to me, I feel like it's a good setup. It's not here where it's priced to perfection at 190 or this or that, but it's right smack above the moving averages. I think it's a good setup. The earnings are coming out when? Earnings are the 29th. What's the 29th of next week? Is that Thursday or Wednesday?
I believe it's Tuesday. It's the 29th is Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday. Okay. So if you put the Alpha team up, you'll see that I'm along the 170 calls, and they're pretty cheap. So I like to be long. I like to be in something like $2 to make 6 or 7. And this is a binary event, and it's tight. So to me, Google's a pretty good setup. I am long calls. Unfortunately, I was in the stock on this day, and then I got stopped out. And now, actually, looking at the chart, it looks really good. Like it could have a little pre-earnings run, and if it does, then what I'll probably do is I'll probably create a spread, and then I'll have really low risk because the movement in the stock will pay for the actual earnings play.
Okay. How about AMD? Because AMD is also coming up. Yeah, AMD is also on the 29th. What are you seeing there?
I'm just seeing another stock that is probably number 2 in the scheme of semis, and it's kind of it's also been battered. It was a 174 on October 10th. Now we're October 25th, 15 days later, and it's down here. So I'm thinking it's a low risk play. So another way, like earnings. I mean, I bought them yesterday, by the way, which was good because I was able to take some off. The stock was up $5 today. It was up a pretty nice percentage. So, so anyway, I do have it on. I just think it's kind of broken, and and the action hasn't been great. But again, I like the ones that aren't really priced for perfection. That if they surprise, they could have a good move. So I am in AMD options. I will not be in the stock. I will probably not even trade it after hours. But I'm in. I'm thinking that if they beat and it's solid and Lisa talks really well, which she does, why can't this be back at 174, which is not 187, which is not 228? So I think there's room here, and the premiums aren't bad. So I'm long AMD call spread too.
Okay. How about Meta? Meta's another one I know you're in. That stock can be, feels like it's a little all over the place at times. You're in Meta 620 calls.
I
Why
am,
Meta?
because Meta's been the best Mag 7 name. It's set up really well. A bunch of the wirehouses that I'm friends with think they're going to beat and raise, and it's a nice setup. It's kind of like the Netflix setup. The question is though, what's it going to do? And like some of these candles, I don't know how we're going to close today, but some of these candles are not great. It's funny how it pushed through this area and came off. So thank goodness I started buying some Meta calls here, and then I added on that Wednesday, added uh, a little bit yesterday. So I sold what I added into this, so it made me some money. And now I'm just in what I want to own. Um, if they beat and raise, there's a lot of institutional money in here. Like this channel was a big channel. It's acting very well. You would think that if it has a good report, it'll be gapping up here, and there'll be a lot of decent money to be made. So I do have some FOMO missing that. Look what Netflix did. Netflix, came in prior, right? It came in for like four days from 736 down. This almost is like a Tesla where, it gapped down. You could have been buying I said like a 735 by 755 call spread, and went to 766. Same thing, opened down, took that out, gave you another trade, and now it's just kind of getting a little sloppy in here. So, but all the way, but if I'm thinking that Meta could do kind of this Netflix move where it comes in, corrects a little bit, and then gets above the prior high and gives you a nice move. So I'm in the 620s, and we'll see. Right now, it doesn't look great. It's just a range. These are a lot of range trades. These range trades aren't a lot of fun when you're in them. But because you always think that it's going to take out the range. But if you just buy low, sell high, it's like right. It's so easy, Michael, isn't it? So if you bought with a red dog reversal yesterday, you were able to sell into this congestion today, and now it's still coming in.
Okay, let's related to the AI theme. I see you're in SMCI calls now. SMCI, highest short interest of any stock in the S&P 500. Definitely hated. People say a lot of bad things about this company. Why take a flyer on this one? Is it because we've seen like Nvidia move on Microsoft and Google capex numbers? Like, do you think there's a play there?
Yeah. Like what you want to be in is something that has a lot of emotion, and this has a lot of emotion. Like you said, there's a huge short interest. This was 122. This was 95 and like you're talking. This is post split, so it's down here. Everyone's worried about the 10K. Everyone's worried about earnings. Everyone's worried about all these things. So when there's a lot of worry, there's a lot of shorts. So I'm like, you know what? If it's better than feared, which it could be, if they come out on their 10K and say that the short report was wrong, it was all by the book, and then they have a solid. They're still in the cooling business, right? They're still crazy AI. That's why that's why this happened. So I think there's a play here also. So I bought what did I buy? I bought options here too. I think the 552s. They're only like $2, not even. And if it goes to 59, which I think it can, you're making 6 or 7. So I like this play as a hated, highly shorted, maybe home run play into the print. If management's smart, they're doing their work right now with all their auditors to make sure that everything they said was perfect, and then they come out with good, strong numbers and guidance, and this thing could be even higher than 59. So I like that play. It's one of my number one plays going into its earnings. Unfortunately, though, this one is you have to, it's post-election, right? November 8th. So you have to be in options. So anyway, I'm always in options for earnings anyway.
Okay, Scott. So let's go even further into the controversial area. So I saw you're in TLRY calls, of all things. Did I
I
see
like to burn money.
and CGC? Now, cannabis seems like the hardest sector ever because it's feels like Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. Every time it feels like it's getting going, it hits the wall and blows up. So I feel like once a year you end up dabbling in cannabis, no pun intended,
Yeah.
for like a late year run. But why cannabis of all things now?
Kind of just feels that both candidates want to, want to get everybody on their side. That's why they want to get the crypto guys, they want to get the cannabis guys. So feels like they want to legalize marijuana, and they've been doing it state by state. I do think that in order for this sector to really do well, they need the safe banking bill, which means you could wire money from one state to another and not be illegal. Then I think the sector takes off, and maybe whoever gets in will do it. So this, the group's been absolutely crushed. You had this like little tradable pattern here where it cleared this descending channel, went here, it's hanging in. Sometimes these moves are fun, but it's a crap sector. It's crappy. So when it's crappy, I usually just buy options. So with TLRY, I remember that day when it went to 300, and I was short, I think, at 240, and like, thank goodness I took a breath and covered it like 220, and it went back down to 100 that day. If you guys remember, if you've been trading, you know what happened with TLRY. So anyway, just in case, I'm like, what could I take as a potential lotto play? So I bought TLRY $2 calls and 250 calls because it's had some spikes. Like, and look how quick this move was. This was last March. It went from $1.70 to as high as 290. So I figured if this kind of move happens around here, not saying it will, but it could post election, that I don't want to be in it, but I could be in some $2 calls that cost me 10 cents. You could buy 100 of them for $1,000. And if it goes back to 280, you're making good money. So you could buy 1,000 of them. You could buy 10 of them. But basically, it feels like, this could have a move. And their business is doing pretty well. I know a lot of my friends that, don't want to drink as much anymore. They're doing the California, sober, where they're drinking these seltzers that have 5 milligrams of whatever in there, and they're drinking one of them, and they're having a fun night versus, 3 or 4 tequilas or whatever it is. So I think there is a movement towards that, which is probably healthy. I'm not telling you what to do or not to do, but until Ray bought some of Anheuser-Busch's brands, and they have the seltzers, and again, it's just something I have for the post-election move, and it's probably something you could buy, and sit on. But again, the cannabis group just is hard, and so I'm in calls, and the reason why I'm in CGC, I bought it today. The stock, it's not a big deal. It woke up. It's a little small tradable pattern. It's holding above these small moving averages. It's like something to do. So to me, I'm thinking this can get to here if the rhetoric around legalization and the safe banking bill happens, and it's just something where I can quantify my risk.
Okay, let's talk about let's circle back to Bitcoin. So you've identified Bitcoin as a big theme for Q4 into Thanksgiving specifically. I see Wolf is up today, but it seems like a lot lately Bitcoin can be soft, but those miners are still going up, like MicroStrategy and Wolf. So does today change anything with you for Bitcoin?
It's a little loose and wide. I'll be honest. I lost money in IBIT today. Went out really strong. I was hoping we'd get a nice methodical move higher. It opened up. I trimmed some, and then, once it took out yesterday's low, it got a little sloppy. And obviously, this is sloppy. Bitcoin usually is sloppy. I'm still in it, and I still think there's a good chance here. It's not easy. Nothing's ever easy in life. But this, from the low on Wednesday, you could have been, if you trimmed into strength, this was a hell of a move. You're able to buy a dip versus the gap, and then. But today, if you use your sell rules, what could you have done? You could have trimmed some above yesterday's high, and then when red, you could have sold some when it broke here. And now I'm just a little bit smaller. And then the miners, every one of them are different. Like 2 weeks ago, we were talking about buying a crazy dip, which was right here, the red dog reversal. We were buying the 210 calls. That was awesome. And that was prior to the move. And then we sold the 210s bought them for like 9, 8, 10-ish. Sold them at 14, 15, 16, all the way as high as 19 into that. And then I bought the 240s into this. And then yesterday I sold most for a double. Now look at it. It's still fine. Look at it. It's up here. Made a new all-time high today. And Bitcoin's not even in the 70s yet. So what happens if Bitcoin goes to 85K? Like most people are saying, the ones that are big Bitcoin guys, this thing's a lot higher. So keep trading this. It's been in a nice sequence. It's been above the 8-day moving average pretty much since here. So what a nice trend. So it's been great. Wolf awesome. It's been a power play. Came out with a big convertible, and still look at it today. Wolf is fine. Nice chart. We got really big here and in it, and it looks like it's going higher. I showed you guys the weekly chart. Wolf is good. The wolf, we call it when it's moving and having fun. We call it the wolf. The wolf. I'm the red dog. The wolf. But anyway, there's room here. Look at that. That's pretty clean. What's not clean is Mara. Mara is a pain in the friggin' butt. So that's why I make sure I just buy options into weakness. And Mara it's a broken name. So when you have a name that's broken, you do not want to be in it. You just want to be in options. And even if you're in options, it kind of hurts. And right now, this move lower is not fun. I started here though. So I made really good money into that move. And then I started accumulating some calls higher just to cost me less and have less out there. Now we'll see what happens. But overall, this is like the highest short one. And this is the one that goes down the fastest. It is sloppy. So just don't donate too much money here. It's really not a great name. It doesn't act well, and I'm sure anybody who's even in it probably can't even say exactly what they do.
Scott, fun fact: T3 Live tried to hire a Bitcoin writer a few years ago, and we kept asking people, "What is Bitcoin?" and nobody could tell us what Bitcoin was. They were actually claiming to be Bitcoin experts. When I asked them, "Can you tell me what Bitcoin is in plain English?" Nobody could tell me. It was always some giant. Though,
how would you say? How would you describe it?
That's a good. So, all right. So I'm equally full of shit because I own Bitcoin, and I kind of believe it's magic internet money, and it's more like a commodity, and it has value because people believe it has value. I mean, there is, the relation of like a claim on the blockchain, and there is some scarcity. It does have utility as payment mechanism. In fact, I've been busting chops at T3 Live. I think T3 Live should accept crypto as payment when people want to buy our services. Like they should be able to buy in Bitcoin or Ethereum. But there are actually like logistical issues that create problems for that. But I mean, I think Bitcoin becomes more real money when you could just transact with it easier.
Well, I have a Visa Coinbase credit card, and I use that. It's pretty cool. Like I trade my crypto through Coinbase, and the balance goes up and down on the credit card, and I can go and I can use the credit card at any restaurant, and I can even take money out on it. So it's pretty cool. It's like it is money, definitely is money. And obviously some countries have taken it on as legal tender. But again, yeah. So they're digital gold, right? Same thing with gold. Like it's gold. What do you do with gold? It just is a value to it, and sometimes there's more than less. And you pay for it or you use it. You can't carry a gold bar around. But anyway, I believe in it also. It's just a digital currency that connects the world, and they could unify everything where you could have it's worth the same thing in every country. Obviously changes a little bit, but like the dollar versus the Libra versus this versus that. So it's like Bitcoin's Bitcoin. So it's how much will the world pay for it? So anyway, then it's good when it's good and it's bad when it's bad. And as of right now, if you go to IBIT, it's it's a little bit off lows. It definitely today they shook the tree again. It's not easy. It's not the easiest thing to trade. But you go to the weekly chart and it's still just fine. The weekly chart looks good. Actually, is this the weekly? Yeah, the weekly chart kind of held above the prior week, consolidated a big move, and at some point maybe it takes this out, and then this is the high, and typically it should go higher than that if that's the case.
Okay, Scott, is there anything else you're liking into next week?
Well, somebody was asking about the nuclear stocks. I like this sector still. I think this is going to be a theme that stays in play for the next year. We were in this a lot earlier. I was in this here, and then started watching it. Some of my institutional friends were like, "You got to watch this." And then all of a sudden, the news came out with Google or Amazon about how they want to use this to help their grids and whatnot. And then boom, now it's holding the 8-day. So I've been buying some calls in this for the next month or two, thinking that it's going to go and be great. There's a little group of them too. I love trading groups. So that this NNE, I didn't get caught in it, thank goodness. I did play it into here. I had small overnight, then the deal came out. I got out, lost peanuts, so I made money that day. And then when they advanced the deal to 17, I bought it versus that. And, so the one thing that people are a little worried about is like, how much money do they have to raise, because these are young companies and the kind of concepty, kind of like the ASTS satellite. So this chart looks really good to me, but there's a lot of talk that they have to raise money. But if they don't raise money and everyone's shorting it because they think they're going to raise money, then maybe some kind of news comes out and I'll be watching this for next week. So I have some SMR calls and I have some OKLO calls, and I'm giving them time to let the 8-day catch up, and then hopefully there'll be good trades again.
Cool. So guys, if you want to get all of Scott's favorite stocks, we suggest you go to t3live.com/power. You can join Power Plays. You can get a whole year for $99. That's where people got this.
$99? That's all it is.
For the first year, $299. After that, they got Wolf, they got MicroStrategy, Reddit, IBIT, NVIDIA, ASTS, et cetera, et cetera. You get a whole year for $99. t3live.com/power.
I'm going to just say something about that because, I have a lot of different products. I have the Alpha Team where most people trade for a living. They sit there all day. I'm on this where we're all conversing and things that we see, and we're all making decisions, and we're all trying to help each other. And that's for like those who are professional traders and they make money every month or quarter, and that's how they make a living. Then you have Regular All Access, which is people who like to trade. They might not trade for a living, but they love it and they want to know what's happening every week, and they try and pick and choose a few things from my note, or they're on my private Twitter, and it's more like my game plan, and say, hey, this is my 40 stocks I'm looking at. If this, then that. If that, then this. So people, make their own choices there too, which is cool. They should, but I teach them on why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it. So Power Plays is not say for the lazy, but it's for those who like the market. They don't really want to make a decision. They want to be told what to do. So we'll tell you what to do. We say, hey, like yesterday, it was, buy Tesla. It was trading at 248 or 250 versus the earnings pivot, which is a strategy that we use. And today, it's up $15 a day after. They could sell it if they want. Then sometimes we piece out of it depending on, how fast it goes. And, and then so we give you the parameters. So we're really, so Power Plays is just us telling you what to do when it looks good. And hopefully over time, it makes you money. And then if it's wrong, we tell you when to get out of it and stop out of it. And not all of them work, but the other products are really for those who want to make their own decisions and learn and do this for like years and years and make a living at it. Power Plays is like, hey, I like the market, but I'm too busy being a fireman or a lawyer or a doctor or a race car driver or whatever, or a teacher. So it's just like, hey, I know Red Dog. He puts in hours and hours up every day at 4:45. So if he's saying this is a good play, chances are at least he's putting his best foot forward, which is better than I could do because I'm not putting in all the work. So this is me doing all the work and telling you what to do. And hopefully you do all of them, you'll make more money besides. But you should always have your 401k. You should always have your 529 for your kids. You should always have that kind of stuff. But if you want to play stocks, and you want action, which I hate to say action, but you want calculated plays that I figured out over the course of my life, that's what Power Plays are. They're good plays that I think I'm in and could work. So I'm telling you what to do. And it's very cheap for $100. It's like, geez. Anyway.
Tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of people have joined this year. It's a lot of fun. t3live.com/power. If you join, I promise you will have a good weekend. I can guarantee it personally. I can't guarantee you'll make money, but you will have a good weekend.
Well,
you will have
you have the World Series tonight, which is going to be fun. You have
your team will win. Your wife is going to be nicer to you. Your kids are going to be in a good mood. The dog's not going to pee on the rug. Everything's going to be great. All you got to do is go to t3live.com/power.
Yes, and then the dog won't pee on your couch.
I can guarantee it personally. So Scott, who are you rooting for in the World Series?
Yankees. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm from New York, New Jersey. I grew up in the 90s. I call myself the Jeter of trading. Not because I'm being conceited. I'm just saying I'm a singles and doubles hitter. He was really, really, really consistent. I'm not Reggie Jackson where it's either a home run or a strikeout, I like to, I like on base percentage. That's why that's my theme. But anyway, I am a Yankee fan, and I'm not a crazy Yankee fan, but they've been a part of my life for a long time. I lived in the city. I used to go to Stand the Man's, have a nice amount of beers, and I was a bleacher creature. I've sat behind home base. I've sat everywhere. But this isn't really my team. My team again was like the '90s, but it's good to see them doing well, and I'll root for them, and it'll be something fun to watch. It's a good thing that brings friends together to give you something to do.
Yeah, I don't know who Scotty. See, I grew up as a Mets fan, so I can't root for the Yankees, and I hate the Dodgers too. So
That's not true though. You could, I root for the Mets, and I'm a Yankee fan. I was,
I don't. I don't believe in that.
You don't believe in that?
I don't
Okay,
believe in
then
that.
you're a real fan. I don't have as much time to be so real. Like I'm a fan of life. I'm a fan of chase. I'm a fan of the markets. I don't have enough time to dedicate to sports, but when I like to see performance. I like to see people. The emotion of these guys have been playing baseball since they're 5 years old. This is their life. Rolled up in a ball. In the highest platform. So congrats to them. So I like to, I probably watched 5 Yankee games or Met games this entire year, and I've watched more in the playoffs. I'm an action guy. I like to, I like a good reason to hang out. So but I can't say I'm like one of these diehard fans that like my mood is going to be dictated off of whether they win or lose, unless I'm betting on it, which I'm not betting on it. I'm just going to watch and have some fun.
All right. Okay, Scott. Well said. So everybody, be nice to each other. Have a good
Nice to
weekend.
be nice. You never know what somebody's going through, right? Look at all these. Look, I don't even want to talk about the guy with Chris Payne. Like Jesus, friggin' jumping off about what happened at the balcony. Like guy's 32 years old, one of the most famous singers. He's got a girlfriend. He's got a kid, and all of a sudden, boom. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff, except for that, just because somebody has a lot of money, a lot of fame, doesn't mean they're happy. So do things that make you happy. Once you learn how to take care of your inner game, then the outer game is so easy.
Okay.
That's the truth.
Okay. All right. Scott, always fun. We'll be back next week.
I'll be back. See you later.